राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद।
हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद।
गोविंद गोविंद 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 कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद।
हे गोपाल राधा 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 कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
भजमन नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण 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 नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
राम नारायण 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 नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
भजमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
भजमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
भजमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
भजमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीहरिनारायण 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 हरिनारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीहरिनारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण 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 नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण नारायण
श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नारायण
सूर्य नारायण 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 नारायण नारायण
श्रीमन्नारायण 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 नारायण नारायण
माता नारायण नारायण नारायण
माता नारायण नारायण नारायण
पिता नारायण नारायण नारायण
पिता नारायण नारायण नारायण
गुरुवर नारायण नारायण नारायण
गुरुवर नारायण नारायण नारायण
गुरुवर नारायण नारायण नारायण
गुरुवर नारायण नारायण नारायण
श्रीमन्नारायण 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 नारायण नारायण
बोलिए सर्वेश्वर भगवान की जय। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Welcome to Satsang, everyone. I'll I'll begin with one of the questions that came in advance. And then we'll open it up to questions that people here have. I know last night when we concluded, there were a couple that we said, all right, we'll start with those. So right after one that we have from advance, we'll start with those from last night. Can we cure our past, present, karma or deeds? If yes, how do we do that? It's not so much a matter of curing them. Sounds a problem with this. It's not so much a matter of about punishments. It's not about curing things. It's about freeing ourselves from bondage. And so that which we've done in the past is absolutely going to bear fruit in the present, in the future. But there's a couple of things we can do. First of all, we can mitigate that. And this is where spiritual practice is so crucial. This is where grace is so crucial, where the presence of a guru is so crucial. That which is written in our karma is going to happen. Again, you planted an apple seed, you're going to get an apple tree. But what our spiritual practice does, what the presence of a guru can do, is mitigate the impact of that in a negative way on me. And so, for example, let's say I end up now with my apple tree, full of apples. But this is bad karma because, as it turns out, I'm allergic to apples, and eating apples makes me break out in hives. And so that apple tree feels to me like a punishment. The law of karma is such that I'm going to have that tree. But what my prayers, what my sadhana, what my meditation does, what the presence of a guru can do, is not about changing the apple tree into an orange tree, but about removing my allergy to it. And so it's a completely different way of thinking about it. A lot of times what our prayers are is, oh God, I planted this apple seed, but you are so great, you are so compassionate, you are so forgiving, give me an orange tree instead. That's not what grace does. Grace does not overwrite its own laws of nature. But what grace does is it changes how we interact with our karma. And that interaction can either be something that is very painful or something that isn't so painful. Obviously, immediately, it changes my apple tree from something that was detrimental and painful and difficult to being something that I actually can enjoy. The apple tree is the same. The fruit of my karma is the same, an apple tree. But where on the one hand I was allergic to it, breaking out in hives, now suddenly I'm able to benefit from it. I'm able to enjoy it. Or if not that fully, maybe the way that grace has come into my life is to bring school children to me who can pick the apples, or to teach me how to make apple jam or apple sauce or apple pie, or something that I can do to feed others, to help others. And that's the role of grace with my karma. It's not about curing myself of it. We're not going to, it says if you walk off a building, you're going to fall down. no amount of grace, no amount of prayers after walking off the building are going to somehow sprout you wings. Doesn't matter who you pray to, what language you pray in. There is no prayer on earth that is going to give you a pair of wings after you've stepped off the roof of a building. But what grace can do, what spiritual practice can do, is miraculously manifest a mattress on the ground. Yeah, you're going to fall. It's a law of gravity, law of nature. Nothing's going to undo that. No, you're not going to get wings. Again, law of nature. Humans just don't have wings. You are going to fall. The karmic fruit of walking off a building is you will plummet to the ground. But where grace comes in is you may find, should you have surrendered to the divine, should you have opened up to grace, should there be a presence of a guru, should there be presence of prayers that bring about grace, is that instead of going splat on the ground, there's a mattress that catches you. So that's where our spiritual practice comes in. But in terms of being entirely free of karma completely, the only way to do it, because no matter what you do, it's going to have a result. This is what Lord Krishna explains so clearly in the Gita. Whatever we do, it's going to have a result. It's going to have a fruit. Whatever seed you plant will bear fruit. So the question then becomes, well, how do I break this cycle? How do I become free of karma? The only way to do that is to realize that I'm not the doer. It's not about me. It's not up to me. And to surrender fully. Sweet fruit. Do something bad, you're going to get bitter fruit. Either way, that fruit is coming. Either way, you have to be here to receive that fruit. Sure, one is sweet, one is bitter, but nonetheless, we're still bound by that karmic bank account. We're still bound by needing to clear it. Because until I clear it, I'm here not by choice, but I'm here because I have to be. I'm here in order to clear my karmic bank account. That's literally why we keep taking birth, is until I fully empty that of the positive and of the negative. And so this is where it gets a little bit trickier, because we all want good things to happen. And so we think, well, if I just do something really good, I'm going to get good things in return. Yeah, you will. But the good things, ironically, actually bind you just as much. The sweet karmic fruit binds you just as much. It's a golden cage. Cage covered with diamonds, cage maybe that gets daily pizza delivery, cage, you know, whatever it may be. But it's nonetheless, it's still a cage. And ultimately the point is not how nice of a cage can I live in, but how can I actually be free of the cage entirely. And in order to do that, we have to be free of both the positive and the minus. Be free of the sweet fruit and the bitter fruit. And the only way to do that is to surrender so fully to the divine that it's just, okay, God, thy will be done. Not my will, thy will. Just use me. Use start. And that's the only way. So before taking any of the others that came in advance, yeah, I want to start. Were you one from last night? Okay, yes, go. Okay, so different paths of meditation. What's the right path of meditation to follow? Meditation is a way of experiencing the truth of who you are. There's not a wrong way or a right way or a good way or a bad way. I always say the only wrong way to do meditation is to hit the snooze button. That's the only wrong way to do meditation, is if you don't do it. Right? You've set the alarm, you're going to get up and meditate, but instead you just keep hitting snooze. That's the only wrong technique of meditation. Otherwise, ultimately, the point is, meditation is that which connects us with our true self. And there's dozens, there's probably hundreds of ways. And it's not really about what's the best way. It's about what works. What can I use? You know, my favorite story about this is about 3 men who are stranded on an island in the middle of the ocean. And they pray every day to God to save them, get them off this island. And one day they wake up and there's a canoe on the side of the island. And they're very excited. They get in the canoe, and of course the oars are there as well, and they get in and they row themselves back to the mainland. And a couple of weeks later, someone sees them walking through the marketplace in the village, and they're walking in a single file line with the canoe that they're holding on their heads, one man in front of the other. And the person says to them, "Why are you carrying the canoe on your head?" And they say, "Oh, you know, this canoe, it saved our life. It's such a great canoe. We were stranded and it was there, it rescued us." And the person says, "Well, that's great, but why are you carrying the canoe on your head?" And they say, "Oh, you know, this canoe, it's so great. It saved our life. We were stranded." Now, their attachment to the canoe actually rendered them handicapped once they got to the mainland. While they were stranded, while they needed a way across the ocean, the canoe was great. But once they arrived, the canoe became a handicap. Right? You can't do much when you've got a canoe on your head. When both hands are holding the boat up there, you can't do anything. And the truth is, it could have been anything. It happened to be a canoe. Could have been anything. Could have been a raft, could have been a yacht. Doesn't matter what it was. The only thing that mattered is that it functioned, it worked, and that they were able to use it to get across the ocean. And that's what meditation does for us, is it gets us across the ocean. It gets us from living in this world of being identified as and attached to this body as who I am, this body as me. And it gets us across to the experience of who I really am. The experience of truth. Whatever works for you to get there. Doesn't matter. What matters is use it. And don't stay stuck. Don't stay stuck with what it was. If it gets you there, great. But then once you're there, realize that you've arrived and allow yourself to be there as long as you can. You don't want to, as you meditate, we all have different techniques that we use, but ultimately, if they work, they get us into an experience, a state, a place in which we experience the truth of who we are, and whether it feels like bliss or it feels like stillness or it feels like vastness or it feels like light. They're different ways of describing a similar experience. But once we get there, the last thing you want to do is say, oh, wait, I was supposed to be watching my breath. Wait, I lost my breath. Because all that does is it's like the canoe on the head, right? Well, you've arrived. You can put down the canoe. Should you be stranded again, you're going to need it. And when our mind wanders, when we lose that experience, we bring back the technique. Our breath, the mantra, whatever it may be, awareness. But we recognize the technique is a means to an end rather than the end in and of itself. And so whatever you can use, whatever works for you, but do it. Yes. Okay, so how do we move from compulsive thinking to conscious thinking? How do we gain, really, control of our minds, right? Okay. Two voices in the head, from the heart and from the mind. Which voice do we listen to? Okay. So it's not really the heart and the mind. It feels like that. It's an easy way to categorize them. But really, the voices that we hear, and there's a lot of voices, but those two voices that we hear, is what you could call the voice of our thinking mind and the voice of our intuition. And I use that instead of heart because the heart sometimes is the voice of impulse. Sometimes the heart is the voice of desire. Sometimes the heart is the voice of fear. There's a lot of things that feel like they come from our heart that aren't necessarily our higher voice. So I'm gonna call it intuition instead of the heart. Because the heart also is the seat of emotions. And sometimes our heart tells us to do something that isn't exactly right, that isn't really our highest truth. So how do we know, and how do we, most importantly, how do we shift from compulsive thinking, as he says, to conscious thinking? So how do we shift from the mind being out of my control to the mind being in my control? Awareness and practice. That's all it is. Number one, I have to be aware of the fact that my mind is out of my control and the fact that that is a problem. Most of us aren't even at that place. We may think that our mind's out of control, but we don't even realize that that's a problem and that there should be some other alternative. If I sat here in front of you and my arms started flailing all over the place like this, you'd think there's something wrong with her. And if I said to you, oh, don't worry about that, that's just my crazy arms. Yeah, they do that sometimes. You'd think, she really needs help. Right? We all understand very, very intuitively that our arms should be under our conscious control, that they shouldn't just flail all over the place. And if they do, that there's a problem. And that I should go see a doctor. But our minds, we just really kind of let off the hook. Yeah, my mind, my God, I just can't get under my control. Yeah, me neither, my God. But let's get drunk. Right? We really let ourselves off the hook so easily. We prevent ourselves from really experiencing the possibility of our own lives. Because we say, oh yeah, that's just how it is. My mind is like that. All right, yeah, it's annoying. I'll just drink alcohol or use drugs or watch TV or do something else to distract myself. Without saying, hey, wait, that's a problem. And it's a problem that there must be a solution to, like my flailing arms. No one would say, yeah, okay, I guess you're just going to have to, learn to live with that. If one doctor said he couldn't do anything, I'd keep going. I would be absolutely unwilling to accept a life where I just couldn't stop doing this. Because I need my arms. I need my hands to do what I want them to do. Or can you imagine what life would be like? You couldn't eat, you couldn't drink anything. I mean, you couldn't get a glass of water into your mouth. Forget how tiring it would be for the arms to just flail around, but literally, you couldn't write anything. You couldn't drive a car, you couldn't open a door. You couldn't wash yourself in a shower. Life would literally be impossible to live. And we would understand that. But when our minds flail around like that, and our mind is actually the one that determines what my hands and arms do, what my legs do, what my tongue does. Whether I'm speaking something or eating something, either way, it's my mind that decides. And so even more important than having my hands under my control is having my mind under my control. Because my hands might do what I want, but if my mind is telling them, slap that person, hit that person, smoke that cigarette, well, my hands are harming my life anyway, even though they're under my mind's control. Because my mind is out of my control. And so my mind is the most important thing to get under control. If somebody gave you a car that was the most expensive, gorgeous, beautiful car you'd ever seen, but there was no steering wheel, would you take it? I mean, would you ever dare to get behind the wheel of a car that had no steering wheel? It doesn't matter how beautiful it is. It doesn't matter how fast it could go from 0 to 60. We all would understand, I'm not touching that thing. That's going to kill me. Because without a steering wheel, it's only a matter of a few half seconds before I ram myself head on into a building or into another car. Our mind is the steering wheel of our life. And without it under our control, we might as well not have a steering wheel. And so it's a very important question, because most of us really are just run crazy all over, and we're hitting this wall and hitting that wall and hitting this building. Because the mind is running all over the place. I want this, I want that. No, I want this. Better do this, don't do that. And the only way to do it, so first we said awareness. I have to know it's out of control. I have to know it's a problem. And then it comes to finding the solution, which comes through practice. If you want to be a concert pianist, or a basketball player, or even a fantastic cook, or anything that you need to do with your hands, you understand that you need to practice, that you actually have to put in time, that your hands don't naturally from birth play Mozart, that from birth naturally you don't dribble and make baskets. You learn and you practice and you keep practicing and you keep practicing. And it's the same thing with the mind. It's not going to happen overnight. But this is where meditation comes in. This is where our practice of japa comes in. One of the easiest and most powerful mechanisms of getting the mind under control is the power of japa. Because what it does is it takes your mind from being in a million places and gives it one thing, my mantra. This name of God. Whatever japa I'm doing, recitation. Japa is the recitation on a mala of a mantra or of a name of God. And what it does is it directs all my energy, all my mind into that. And so it's a fantastic technique to get you across the water. It allows the mind to become still. And then in meditation, of course, we keep bringing the mind back, whether we're meditating on our breath, whether we're meditating on just full awareness of our experience in that moment, whether we're meditating open-eyed on a candle flame or an image of the divine. The mind will wander. And then we bring it back. And it wanders and we bring it back, and it wanders and we bring it back. And the more we do that in meditation, the more we get that habit of being able to do it in life. And this is where the practice of mindfulness comes in. You know, if you go to a mindfulness meditation retreat, they're going to give you practices of things like eating mindfully, walking mindfully. So they'll give you one raisin or one grape or one, Hershey's Kiss or whatever it may be. And you've got to spend 20 minutes eating it. Why? Just to give you the experience of what it's like to be fully present with what you're doing. Or they'll do mindful walking, where it's not about getting anywhere. And if you see people doing it, it looks actually like they're walking in slow motion. No, walking through Jello or something. Because it's all about, can you feel the heel and how it pushes on the earth, and then how the ball of the foot comes down and the heel lifts and the calf muscle contracts. It's all about a full and complete mindfulness. Why? Eventually we're going to go back to walking at normal speed. We're going to go back to eating a full meal in the time it took us to eat that one raisin. But it gives us an experience of what it's like to be fully mindful. So that slowly, we're able to inculcate that habit in our lives and be able to move through our lives more mindful. So that's the way that we shift from this compulsive thinking to conscious thinking, is I have to be conscious of it. If I'm not conscious of my own mind, I have no possibility of gaining control of it. I have to be aware, which is where I have to keep coming back to the present moment. This is where all of the spiritual traditions emphasize that, right? The power of now. Be in the present. Be mindful. These are teachings from so many different traditions, but it's all the same teaching. Be here now. Why? Because if I'm not here now, I can't do anything I want. I can't experience happiness. I can't experience peace. I can't be conscious in my mind. So we just keep bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back. And with our heart-mind issue, we slowly, as we bring it back, as we meditate, we start to develop a familiarity with that intuition. And we start to trust it. Our thinking mind tells us a lot of things. Our thinking mind is the one that judges, that compares, that says, oh God, you know, why does that person have that, or this person have this, or why am I stuck here? Why am I not with that or with this? Why do I have to be the one to do the dishes? Why am I the one doing all the work and everybody else is getting to, you know, watch TV and sit around and not do anything? That's the thinking mind that's judging, that's comparing, that's constantly looking at the world from an arm's length away, separate from it. The intuitive heart is the one that knows that our highest calling is to be one with our own consciousness, our own soul, our own spirit, and to be able to be a vessel, a vehicle rather, for the divine will to flow. That's where our intuition is always bringing us into situations that open our hearts more and more. And the thinking mind certainly may be getting us more money or a better job or a better house, or protecting us from getting hurt over here, taking care of us over there, stockpiling the house. But it disconnects us from our hearts. It disconnects us from really what is the source for us of joy, of peace, of why we're here, which isn't about protecting ourselves or stockpiling things or getting the best situation. It's about living from the heart. Living in love, living in consciousness, living as spirit. And doing whatever we can do to be of service to others. Everything in nature is of service to the natural cycle in some way or another. Everything in nature gives, plays its role in the wheel of life. We are the only aspect of creation that just keeps wondering, what for me? What for me in all this? How can I make this better for me? How can I have more fun? How can I get more money? How can I be more comfortable? We're the only creature that's concerned about that. And so as we move from our intuitive heart, it always moves us into situations and experiences of oneness and connection. The thinking mind is always going to separate us. It may give us a cushy existence, but at the end of the day, when we lie in bed to go to sleep at night, we're going to feel like something's missing. That we didn't have the courage. The open-hearted courage to actually live according to our truth. And so this is where we have to keep coming back to it, keep coming back to it. You know this man is a murderer, okay? Okay, done. Fantastic. Good question. Okay. So this is it's a really important question. And a lot of us find ourselves in these situations suddenly as we embark on a spiritual path is, wait, what about my job? And so whether you are a defense attorney whose job is to protect people who have been accused of crimes, in some cases you know they're innocent, and so it's a very heroic job that you are performing to keep innocent people out of jail. And then, as you say, there's this guy, I know he's a murderer, but my job is to try to keep him out of jail. And this is the same. My job is I work for a company that does great business. But one of the ways that we do great business is we cut a lot of corners, and all of our waste goes into the ground, into the topsoil, into then our groundwater, into rivers. We're polluting our water. Or we do great business, but one of the ways that we do great business is that we get our raw materials processed in sweatshops by child laborers in countries that don't have such stringent laws against that. Or we test on animals, or we use animals. Or we're using chemicals that are harming. You know, I'm a producer of t-shirts, and my t-shirts are the cheapest t-shirts in the world, and that's great because now I can give you t-shirts at cheap prices and make lots of money. But in order to do that, I have to spray my cotton fields with so many chemicals to make sure that that yield is 100%, that no bug, no pest, no worm, no nothing destroys my cotton. And so the people who work in my cotton field get cancer. And their children have birth defects. What do? So it's a common question that's bigger than just, I'll come back to your specific situation, but it's important to realize it's not just about being a lawyer, an advocate whose job it is to protect murderers, but it's about any way in which I'm making a living, doing something, either all the time or some of the time, that I know is wrong. And this is where real courage is required. Because the fear comes in, and the fear says, if I lose this job, or if I speak up to my boss and say, you know, I've been thinking, I think we still could actually stay in business, even if our items cost a little bit more money, because then we could advertise fair trade, so we could charge more. And then we could stop using the sweatshop labor. We could stop using child labor. We could get ourselves a good fair trade logo. We could advertise as part of our whole campaign that we are fair employers. And yeah, you might get fired for that. So they say it's a dog-eat-dog world, right? So I'm not going to say that all your employers are necessarily on spiritual paths and are going to say, well, thank you so much for, bringing that beautiful perspective into my office. You absolutely could be fired on that day. But that's where courage comes in, because our fear of doing it is, I don't want to lose my job. What will happen to me? But what we need to know is that the universe will take care. The universe protects us. The universe protects all of creation. And I don't necessarily need that job, especially if it's something that puts money in my pocket, but keeps me from being able to sleep at night. My own mental peace is worth far more. Because if I can't sleep at night and I get stressed, I'm going to lose my health. And I'm going to end up spending all of those extra dollars or pounds or rupees on medicine for my high blood pressure or my diabetes or my anxiety that I'm getting from working in that company in the first place. And so this is where that courage of following my intuition comes in. Of saying, with kindness, with love, I think we need to do this in a different way. I suggest we do this in a different way. And if not, having the courage to walk out and find a different job. Knowing that the universe will support us. And in your case, there are going to be times, I'm sure you've had lots of them in your career, where there is that heroic sense of knowing that the guy is innocent, that he's been framed, that people are against him. And that beautiful ability that you have to have justice prevail, to keep innocent people out of jail, to ensure that corruption is not allowed to reign, that it's not just I say it so it is, that actually it's innocent till proven guilty, that actually I have to have proof. I cannot just say this guy did this or this person did that and suddenly be able to throw anyone in jail for anything. That's a great role. But you also have the opportunity to do your job in such a way that justice always prevails. Because your responsibility is to justice. I do not believe, and I could be wrong, I have not taken the law exam, but I do not believe that there is any point in your law degree, in your law exams, and your certification that says, I hereby swear to keep every single client out of jail. I hereby swear that I will do everything in my power to keep my clients out of jail. I believe that it's probably all, I hereby swear that I will uphold justice, that I will protect the innocent. Well, in this case, the innocent is the person who lost their lives to this criminal murderer, which means that your responsibility in this case, even though you may have been hired by the murderer, ultimately your responsibility is to the innocent victim. If your responsibility is to protect the innocent and uphold justice, you need to do that. And whether it's by saying, I can't represent you, or whether it's by ensuring that the trial goes in such a way that this guy ends up in jail. It may not mean that they say, oh, wow, you were the best attorney. It may not mean that you get known as the guy to go to if you want to stay out of jail. I don't think so. The legal profession is there to uphold justice. And again, as I said, I haven't taken the bar exam. I don't know exactly what we swear, but my instinct is that the vows we take are vows to uphold justice, vows to protect the innocent. And if someone comes to you who is absolutely guilty, your commitment to justice, the legal profession has been co-opted into being a profession that finds whatever loopholes are there, whatever ways are there to keep people out of jail at all costs. That's not justice. That's cutting corners. That's finding loopholes, which isn't upholding justice. And so what I would suggest is, if your spiritual path, as well as your ability to fall asleep at night, is really important to you, keep doing exactly what you're doing, of protecting the innocent. But when the person in front of you is guilty, either to simply say, sorry, I can't take this case, or to use your ability, your experience, your expertise to ensure that justice is done. And in this case, justice is that the guilty are punished. And that's your responsibility to justice. That being the very best lawyer you can be does not mean I'm going to use every trick in the book. I'm going to find every loophole. I'm going to be such a charismatic speaker that I make the jury forget what even was true and just make them like me so they'll buy whatever I say. These are magicians' tricks. These are not tools of justice. But this is how courtroom dramas have started to be played. Is how can I use tricks to win my case? And it's become less about justice and more about the show of the lawyers. Who's louder? Who's got more charisma? Who's got more tricks up his sleeve? That's not your highest calling. Your highest calling is to uphold justice, not to pull rabbits out of hats. Wonderful. Done. We're going to do one thing, if it's okay with you, because we've come to actually the ending time of satsang for tonight. But can we start with your question tomorrow? Fantastic. So we will begin with your question tomorrow night. Wonderful. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening, everyone.